And we're live.
All right, I saw what you linked here, Woody. So I think that this 200. So basically, Kyle, to catch you up to the NHL thing, the Tom Wilson scenario where he acted like an asshole and intentionally tried to ruin people's careers and hurt them. He got no suspension for that. We were talking about what we thought might happen on Tuesday. 0 suspension. Keep in mind that the NHL does this based on history, and he has 5 prior suspensions.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, of course.
I feel like we haven't laid this out for people who didn't see PKN. Tom Wilson is a player for the Rangers, and he got into a fight. Oh, the Capitals, my mistake. He was playing against the Rangers, and he got into a fight kind of with 2 people. One guy, as the guy was sort of falling forward, he put his chest on that person's back and sort of rammed his face into the ground. And then another guy help me out, Taylor. What was this? Did he have 2 offenses?
So the first one was like Buchnevich was falling in front of him, and he did something which is well understood to be a dirty thing in the NHL. You're playing on ice, one of the hardest surfaces in the world, and he put his 6'5", 240-pound frame on top of this guy as he was falling and put his legs behind him like a wrestling thing to drive his face into the ground. And that guy's out for the season, the guy who he did that to. He has concussion protocol. He's probably having like light visibility problems. He did that. The other person he did it with was Artemi Panarin, the all-star of the Rangers, one of the best players in the NHL. He's an $80 million asset for the most valuable franchise in the NHL, the New York Rangers, the only one that's worth like $2 billion for the franchise. Wow. And he grabbed the back of Artemi Panarin's head, his hair, because he has long hockey hair, and he pulled him to the ice and went on top of him. And you can see Artemi Panarin's head bounce off the ice. And so now Artemi Panarin is out for the rest of the season. Granted, New York not making the playoffs, so it's not the end of the world.
But the season is like 5 games.
The season's almost over, but even so, this is an all-star, an $80 million asset for the New York Rangers, who has a huge contract signed, and he cracked his head on the ice, and it was only like a little bit later that they're like, yeah, Artemi Panarin is going to have to go to like therapy for this and try and get back on his feet. Like, this is no joke. Concussion protocol is no joke. Concussions fuck you up. And he did that to him. And this guy, Tom Wilson, has done this many times. He got suspended for 20 games just 2 years ago for hurting a Blues player in a pregame of the season. He did that. He's a genuine retard piece of shit. And I hope, like, really the only way that the Rangers could have handled, because what the Rangers did was all wrong, and I'm going to say some things that are like not hockey okay, but like this is the way it works. If you have a player like Tom Wilson on your team, is the Rangers tried to go after Tom Wilson in this most recent game. They tried to make him pay for it. No. If you actually want to make a player like Tom Wilson pay for this behavior, what you do is you send someone out there and you take a wild, dangerous run at Alex Ovechkin. You take a dangerous run at Nicholas Backstrom. You destroy their goalie when he's behind the net. That's what you actually do to shut this shit down. You say, "Oh, you're gonna pull dirty moves on us? We're gonna pull up an AHL guy, and his entire job is gonna be to hurt Alex Ovechkin, the best goal scorer in NHL history." And until Wilson stops behaving,
carry on.
I like it better if they go after the coach, because then it's just ridiculous.
That would be ridiculous. But I'm telling you,
like you bring up the AHL guy, he like comes out on the ice like that fucking
grabs him by the tie.
He goes to the other bench and just grabs the coach and drags him onto the ice and starts beating the shit out of him. Then it's just clear like what they were going for there.
I mean, it's not even the coach as much as it is Tom Wilson.
Yeah, but you can do a lot more damage to the coach. He's probably like a 50-year-old man who hasn't been on the ice in a decade or more.
They don't care if they're. I mean, first of all, if you grabbed a coach, you're kicked out of the NHL forever. You can't do that.
He wasn't making it.
We get somebody off the street. We get a fan out of the stand. Find a big one.
I'm not saying that this is morally right whatsoever. I'm just saying that
hey, buddy, can you skate? Doesn't matter. You won't need them. Come on.
There's one dude in snowshoes shuffling out there.
I'm telling you,
throw on these cleats.
I know hockey pretty well, and I know the pace of the game. And the thing the Rangers did, which first of all, they did do the right thing by starting the next game with a line brawl. So they put their fourth line out there and they tell every single forward to start a fight instantly. So there's 3 fights right off the bat on the drop of the puck on the first period. That's the right move. You're supposed to do that. They
lost 2 out of 3 of those fights.
They lost 2 out of 3 of those fights. And well, actually, I would say that they lost 1, they clearly won 1, and then 1 was a draw, because I don't like that shit where they count the winner of a hockey fight as whoever threw the person down, because sometimes the person who gets thrown down is just wah, just fucking him up in the face, and then the guy who's getting fucked up is like, whoa. And they're like, oh, he ended up on top. He won. No, that guy's got like 2 bleeding eye sockets and the other guy got tossed to the ice. Who cares? So I would have said it was more of a draw off the line brawl. But truly, if they wanted to get to Wilson in a true way, because you can't beat up Tom Wilson. The Rangers don't have a big enough player. If they want a big enough guy to beat up Tom Wilson, they got to bring in Vegas and let Ryan Reeves knock his shit in. Yeah. But what they should have done is been like, hey, do the line brawl, and then the rest of the game, fuck up their star players. TJ Oshie, fuck him up. You take a penalty, who cares? Right out of the playoffs. Hurt them. Make them pay in the playoffs. Make it so that Ovechkin's ankle hurts in the playoffs. And this is dirty hockey I'm talking about.
Just hit him with a stick,
but you
right?
You have to respond in kind. If Tom Wilson's going to do this shit, then goddamn, the Rangers better go in there and make him pay for this shit. And the way you make him pay, a bullshit player who's not going to win games on his own, is by destroying the star players on their team.
But that's really hard to do. Ovechkin's not easy to hit, and he's a big guy himself.
That's why I said Backstrom.
One guy to hold him,
because Ovechkin is honestly a hard guy to truck, because he's like 6'4" and like Ovechkin is the best goal scorer in the league. He's 6'4", and in his early career,
he's the second best hitter. He's a real problem.
In his early
career,
I
was picturing Ovechkin as like a speedy little guy, like he's like 5'8", but he's twice as fast as everyone else. Like he's in and out of the lines or something.
Ovechkin is a monster.
He's just a gigantic, talented man.
He's so dangerous is because like early in his career, he would throw huge hits all the time and steal the puck and then score. But some of his hits would be so big that he would get penalties, and they're like, "You're way too valuable to go in the box. Please don't go in the box. You're the best goal scorer in NHL history, the best pure goal scorer, I'll say." So that's what the Rangers should have done if they were trying to get serious. What the Rangers did as far as their statement, I think, was awesome. It was great of them to call out Peros and the NHL on their bullshit for not suspending Tom Wilson for this. And the only and like I said, there were enforcers, there were NHL commentators saying things like, I don't know why the hell the NHL wouldn't punish Wilson, other than if they were to punish him, the extent to which they punished him would have to be so severe that it would pull him out of the playoffs. And we want Washington to do well in the playoffs, because since they won the Cup in 2018, they're one of the biggest franchises, recency bias, things like that. And so I could absolutely see that happening, where they give Tom Wilson the benefit of the doubt because they want to see Washington have a deep
So it's
run.
business. It made a business decision.
It's probably a business decision, but I don't care about that. It's fucking hockey.
Even from the outside looking in, for someone like me, because like the guys in the OG side of the subreddit were posting pictures of like the Rangers box, like the penalty box, and how it was just stacked full of guys and everything. I sent them to you guys on WhatsApp, and it was just everybody's kind of incensed about it. It's pretty ridiculous the way that was handled.
Yeah, it's ridiculous the way it was handled, and like. Just the over-the-line way that Wilson plays, it's not hard-nosed hockey. It's not. Like, you want to see hard-nosed hockey, there's a million other players you can look to. He's a dirty player. He's the kind of guy who knows. And also, Wilson, he turtles every time he plays a team like Vegas. Because
Dude,
Ryan Reeves is on Vegas. Because he does not want anything to do with Ryan Reeves. Because Ryan Reeves will humiliate him on the ice. And so this guy will throw a dirty-ass hit and then skate like a bitch back to the bench, or he'll fight someone 4 inches shorter than him. Tom Wilson is a fucking bitch. I had like a dozen people, only 2 of which I knew were Capital fans in my pre-PKA stream. Taylor Murka on Twitch, follow me. Multiple people all trying to goad me into arguments. And like in the beginning part of the stream, I was like, you're not going to, great bait, mate. I rated 8 out of 8, but I'm not going to fall for it. And then by the end of the stream, I'm like, but he was fucking doing that. I totally fell into it. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing to see. The fact that they fined Tom Wilson $5,000 for a hit that anyone else would be suspended. And then they fined the New York Rangers $250,000 for their statement where they called out George Peros, the head of NHL player safety. a former enforcer, by the way. If you can find 15-minute compilations of a guy fighting and hurting people on YouTube in the NHL, that guy has no business being the director of player safety. Like George Parros single-handedly doled out dozens of concussions and hurt people forever.
Shanahan was a tough guy, and he was great at that job.
Shanahan was great at that. Wait, no. Was Shanahan the head of player safety?
Brendan Shanahan? I'm almost positive.
If he was, I would give him the benefit of the doubt because Shanahan is a good example of a hard-nosed player. He did things that now would be seen as dirty, but back then were okay. You know, even like back then you could say like Scott Stevens' antics in 2002 were edgy in 2002. No one was like, that's hard-nosed hockey other than Devils fans. But it's just totally, you know, Shanahan was a player before a bruiser. He never tried to end anybody's career. He's one of the best players of all time, you know, top 100 at least. Well, more than top 100. But yeah, I hate that. I actually really like the Washington Capitals as a team. I think Backstrom and Ovi are such a cool combo. I like Oshie. He played for the Blues for the longest time. We drafted him. It's literally just Tom Wilson. Everyone but Tom Wilson I like on the Capitals. But this guy's a piece of shit. Fuck
do you remember? Are you too young for Sean Avery?
No, not at all. Yeah, Sean Avery was a piece of shit.
Sean Avery was a total piece of shit, but he was an annoying troll piece of shit. And I couldn't make up my mind if I disliked him or not. Like, they made new rules about him. Kyle, you've probably heard about it because I know you watched a YouTube channel where they talked about new rules. Mm-hmm. Plays going on, and he would just put his stick in front of the goalie's face, waving it back and forth. Just hard to see, doing that to him. And it's like the Air Bud rules. They're like, well, there's no rule against that. Like, but you really shouldn't be able to do that. And there were a couple. He would just come out with annoying ways to like distract the goalie. Yeah, he was always doing shit. Remember that guy? Who's the Bruins who licked the other guy?
Oh God,
that was Brad Marchand.
There's no rules about licking people either. And you're like, but
there are now.
There should be.
They made a rule that is roughing or something. So no longer can you lick someone's face as you're playing. But yeah, Sean Avery. And you know what's funny? I think it was Sean Avery who I saw on Twitter, and I was watching it. And first of all, Sean Avery, very like weird spoken guy. Like he talks like a serial killer if you watch him talk. And his take, like I watched his clip on the whole Tom Wilson thing, and I was like, I wonder what Sean Avery's going to say. He totally agreed with me. He was like, you know what?
He's just waving his stick in the man's face. and like it's not like he's standing flat-footed in front of him, and he's
with
got
his back to the play, just like bothering the goalie.
With a windshield wiper, and he's not doing it like he's not trying to hide it. I've seen him do it 3 times, and we're 30 seconds into the video. Like it's an active play. Like they're trying to score.
His back is to the play, and he's just
all over this play, and he's having a blast doing it. And it was smart. It was funny. But like his take on the Tom Wilson thing was exactly what I said. He was like, "Yeah, you put me in the game after that. I don't give a fuck about Tom Wilson. I don't care. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna," and he says it like that. And he was actually, not a bad. He was a skilled NHLer. He's like, what I do is I dish in a nice juicy puck behind the net. I get their goalie to come out to collect it. As he's coming out to collect it, I take 10 strides to get as fast as I can, and I hit the goalie as hard as I can behind the net. And I try and knock him out, and I try and take him out of the game. And then Tom Wilson's going to learn that you can't do that. Otherwise, someone like me is going to take your goalie out of the game. And I was like, you know what? If Tom Wilson's going to behave that way offensively, he better be fucking prepared defensively for his players. And you know what will happen immediately when something like that happens? Ovechkin, Backstrom, Oshie, not Holtby anymore, whoever their starting goalie is, they're all going to talk to him privately and scold him and be like, Tom, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you not realize what's happening here? Our most useful players are getting hurt and targeted because of your antics. Get your shit together. Get it together. That's what would actually happen. They would say, you're going to let Ovechkin and our goalie get run because you want to hurt.
Well, not Ovechkin. We've covered that. He's very hard to run.
Okay, you couldn't hurt Ovechkin. Well, Backstrom, the guy that sets up Ovechkin for all of his shots, you could hurt Backstrom pretty easily. He's not a big guy. He's like 5'11". and so you could pretty easily smash him. I just, and also like it doesn't make me seem good at all to be agreeing with Sean Avery because you look up Sean Avery on YouTube and some of the shit he does. The only person who's like totally dirtier than him is Raffi Torres. Do you remember Raffi Torres?
No. I'm trying to.
Yeah, that guy. I was watching. It's funny. I was watching compilations just the other evening on YouTube of pests and bullies getting their comeuppance, like whole montages of it, and I was just loving it. Like even seeing people like Sean Avery like just get decked and like be on the ground like whoa. It's like, yeah, that's what you get, bitch. That's what you get for trying to ruin other. And Sean Avery
hate pests, but I love to hate pests. I'm so glad they exist in the NHL. And it takes, well, not as much anymore, but it used to take bravery to be a pest because people would beat you up for it, and
sure.
It's easy to think that because they're pro hockey players, they don't mind getting beaten up, or like it's okay, or it's part of their job, or they're fearless, or maybe don't feel pain. They're pro hockey players, right? No, they hate being beaten up. They really dislike it as much as you or I would, and they fear it. They get like I was hearing enforcers talk about this shit. Like you're gonna fight that night. You got butterflies in your stomach. Like have you ever been? Maybe like there's a fight waiting for you at the end of school. It still feels like that in the NHL, and everyone thinks I'm gonna win. And sometimes I don't win.
You have to just watch the first 10 seconds of this clip, Kyle and Woody. So this is Tom Wilson, the guy I'm talking about, skating up to Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves is an amateur boxer for the Golden Knights. He looks away like he's not gonna punch him in the face, and then he decks Ryan Reeves with a sharp, hard punch. Perfect. And crumples that little bitch. Ryan Reeves was one of my favorite Blues when he played for us, and I still love the dude now that he plays for Vegas.
I did like the first 10 seconds of that. I wish I could show, dude. NHL in particular is rough for.
When he fucks up Wilson right there, just the whop, just right in his fucking face.
He just throws a real quick, nice little short left punch
without
to the
looking.
Guy's chin.
Without looking, perfect aim.
Yeah, it's perfect. It decks him.
Can anybody beat Ryan Reeves?
If someone was to beat Ryan Reeves, it'd probably be Zdeno Chara.
Oh,
and that's only because he's 6'10".
Dude, that was fun. So Chara was on the ice when there were 3 fights at the beginning of the thing, and so there are 3 fights that break out. No one wants to fight Chara. Chara skates over to the Rangers and he's like, "Hey, you guys want to fight?" And they're like, "No." So he respected it. He was like, "Yeah, if you don't want to fight, all right, we'll just sit here."
That's what's great. That's what's great about someone like Chara is like he'll fight when he wants to, but he respects the code of like, "Hey, do you guys want to fight?" "Well, no, I'm a 6-foot defenseman and I have nothing to do with this. They called me up 2 days ago." All right. Like, but Zdeno Chara did have a fight in the last week, and now he is the oldest recorded NHLer to get in a fight, 43 years old. And he beat the shit out of that guy. It wasn't even close. There's a photo of him that's all over the place where he just looks like fucking Frankenstein with his fucked up teeth, like pulling back to beat this guy up.
I watched a video of young Chara in a fight. It was linked on Reddit not long ago. I make these references to Bam Bam from the Flintstones. I don't know if other people have seen it.
I get it.
And he's just the guy, he's got him off his feet, he's off balance, and he's throwing him left and right, and he's literally like pulling him through the air like a windsock. And it was like, oh my God, you could do that to a grown man?
Yeah, he's enormously strong. In the fight that he's in, where he's looking like a fucking beast in the last week, he's fighting Matt Martin, who is 6'4" and a fighter. And so he's not beating up some nobody. He's beating up someone whose most of their job is throwing big hits and fighting. So
but he's 6'10".
I like that about Chara. Chara's done some dirty shit. That shit about Pacioretty. Now I'm talking to the 8 people out there who know the hit I'm talking about. All the Montreal fans and the Toronto fans know what I'm talking about.
You pluralized that, huh?
Yeah, there's a bunch of Toronto fans. Even in my way smaller than this show stream, when I talk about hockey, tons of Toronto fans, some Canucks fans, Montreal fans, and then thankfully, because I've amalgamated so many people into being Blues fans that we can still outnumber them. I'm so excited for the playoffs to happen. I really want Kyle's Colorado Avalanche to take first place in the division so we can watch Blues versus Avalanche first round. That
only a couple games behind. Very close.
Yeah, you're really close to the Vegas Golden Knights and taking them over.
Mention the Hurricanes are the best team in the NHL right now.
They're doing tremendous.
Best record, longest win streak.
Who are they slated to play in the first round?
I don't know.
It is that division all solidified?
No, I think.
It looks like they're going to have the pleasure of dominating Nashville.